Good day, everyone, and welcome to our Coach's Corner session today. My name is Steve Pearl, Product Director of Intellicus, and I'm pleased to be presenting one of a series of these sessions where we're going to try to focus on different fairly advanced capabilities of Intellicus. And in particular today, some of the features that we are going to be showing are the plus features, so plus and premium features that many of you may be aware exist. Maybe you've tried them or you haven't used them yet. So hopefully some of this will be an enlightenment of what you could be taking advantage of. And so these features are ones that if you have our plus or premium package are part of your subscription. So I will be spending probably upwards of about 45 minutes or so. I'll make sure that we have time for questions. Those questions can certainly be about the specific things we cover today, or if you have questions on some other aspects of Intellicus, I'll be happy to address those as part of our presentation as well. The areas, though, that we're going to touch on for today is we're going to be looking first at the very newly introduced, actually our latest release that just came out yesterday. That's our 2020.5.1 version of Intellicus. Does have our advanced event management module. So this is a module that's fairly new. Some of you hopefully have experienced it recently when you signed up for this event and received reminders yesterday and today. That was all being handled through our advanced event management module, and we'll talk a little bit about how that all works. We'll also speak about the email merge code management capability, and there's really two ways that you can effectively take advantage of merge codes as people either subscribe to the different things you offer, or if you want to manage your database of merge codes in many different ways. So we really give you two ways to take full advantage of that capability of Goldmine called email merge code, and we'll talk about that. And then finally, we'll also talk a little bit about quick surveys, something we've had actually for the last several years. You may have not thought of taking advantage of that as a way to get some good feedback. It might be a good time even, especially now with things being a little bit slower, and maybe you want to reach out and get a little bit more feedback from your customers on how things are going. The survey or the quick survey mechanism could be a good way to get a finger on the pulse of what's going on. And actually, we ourselves will be starting to use some of our own quick surveys out to you, our customers, to really manage and monitor a little more how things are going and what things you want to see in the future as far as sessions and training that we might provide. So just as a brief overview before we actually delve into these pieces, for those of you who don't know, the advanced event management is now part of really the overall event registration capability of Intellicus. Now, many of you know we've had one-click event registration capabilities for a very long time, really almost since we started our product. That's the one where you can set up a link and people can click and instantly be registered, be scheduled to attend an event that you're holding, be provided with a confirmation that they've been registered, all seamlessly handled in Goldmine. Well, we've enhanced that link now to provide a little bit more robust landing page. That landing page can now allow you to pass in information like the details of a meeting, have that information flow all the way through to the add to calendar and make sure that gets put into their calendar with all the information about that event that they're attending. So we've made that very robust. We've made the whole mechanism for add to event or add to calendar a more robust possibility. Now that applies to all Intellicus versions. So that is one thing that all those who are using our one-click event will have the benefit of. But in terms of the next tier or level of event management, our advanced mechanism, which really is part of our premium version, allows you to have people still be added on a single click, so that hasn't gone away. It has some of the similar behaviors, except it will now start a flow of communication for reminders. So you can now set up a sequence of templates and have those templates go out at the desired time you want them to be emailed to remind. And then even have a post-event email that might send out, for instance, a recording to the event like we will be doing with this event, for instance. The other benefit of the event management is it allows you to also have a form that we bundle that can be embedded on your site or used on its own because it always brands with your logo anyways, and it allows people to sign up for an event. So they can sign up literally from event pages that you might offer on your website. It could be from a click in an email that could be clicked by people they forward on to who want to sign up for the event. So you can have a little button to let other people sign up to an event, take them to this landing page where they fill in their information. We bring them into Goldmine, add them if they're not yet in Goldmine, so you get new contacts being added, and they're registered to the event all in one nice seamless flow. Once that happens, that whole flow of reminders kick in. Again, on this tool, you set up the event confirmation and reminders. So the same way that you create an email template, you can use the exact same tools, whether you're using MailStyler or any other tool that you care to use to create your messaging. And those become what goes out. So it's all being managed internally in your environment, and you control exactly the look, the feel, and the content of those messages. It's not as restrictive as if you do use other webinar platforms that are both very expensive and do have some limitation on what kind of messaging they will send on your behalf. So that's just a quick peek and overview of what advanced event management, we'll be looking at that first today. In terms of email merge code management, first of all, this does give you the deepest level segmentation of your email list in your Goldmine system. It allows you to really pinpoint at a person level the different types of individuals you want to target for certain types of mailings. Now, there's two ways to have merge codes managed. One is where you let your contacts manage them through our subscription management module. Subscription management is part of both the Plus and Premium subscriptions. So this is where you can offer up different types of lists that they can opt into, and we will adjust their merge codes based on the selections they've made. Another option we now have is the ability for you to mass update and globally set values on people by their title or department. So if you want to also add certain types of segmentation based on people by title or department, you can now use that module to globally set those codes and be able to segment mailings on the way you might want to communicate to certain types of individuals inside your database. Remember that merge codes are at an email and person level. So when people say, well, can't I just use filters and create groups, that gives you a company level segmentation. But if you want to then manage how you communicate within those companies, so as you have multiple individuals, this gives you the ability to manage it at directly in the individualized level. And of course, this is all then handled as you execute your sends through IntelliSend. So IntelliSend lets you pick the one or multiple codes you want to target for a given mailing. The final thing we're going to look at is quick surveys, and quick survey is a way to get people to give you very quick, immediate feedback from a single click. It allows you to either get some kind of a numeric or word scale rating for something you're inquiring on, and you have that information flowing back instantly to Goldmine so that you can see through either reports or dashboards exactly what kind of feedback and how people are feeling about some of the questions you've put out there through these quick one-click surveys. Now I'm going to move to the next segment. So I'm going to move on to our next page. And let's move over to Goldmine. Okay, so I did say that we did just launch our latest version of the IntelliClick Wizard. So for those of you who may have updated already, you will see just a slightly different look and feel to the main menu. We've altered a little bit the buttons. Probably the two most notable enhancements, in addition to the event registration with automated reminder that we're going to look at first here, is our video tutorials and our resource center both have been embellished with just a little bit more both information, a whole different look and feel. So I'm going to go ahead and just quickly show you the video tutorials page does have a variety of areas of the product and some of the tools like MailStyler, having various type of video tutorials that you can watch and be coached through these various educational components. We are going to be adding several more into this library. It's going to be constantly updated, and we'll always try to make sure we get an email out so you'll always know when there's new videos available to see. In our resource center, there you will be able to see we do have many of our past webinar recordings on very topical areas. So where we've had things that seem to be very topical, very timely, or take advantage of some very important differentiating capabilities of Intellicus, we have some of these recorded webinars available for you to watch. And we also have a lot of good best practice white papers that you can download from this resource area. So this is all part of our new resource and video recordings that is available to you directly from the Intellicus wizard menu right here. Now, what I'm going to do is talk more about the event registration and automated reminder mechanism. So this is the newest addition to the capabilities of our version of Goldmine, of Intellicus with Goldmine specifically. Now, when you go to this this module, basically you have two areas that come into play. The area for the event details, which probably looks familiar to you because it's very much like what you'd fill in on just our regular event registrations. And you also have the message confirmation reminders area where you can set up and identify the various types of messaging you want to have go out. You could see that the first thing you can do is you can manage events that you've already scheduled. So any upcoming events are available for you to immediately manage so that when you choose the event, it immediately fills all the current information about that event, all the templates that are in place, the date and time of the event, and all the things you'd want to see. Now, the event location has the ability, and I think I have one, let me just see here. So here is an example where we have an event location, and I'm just going to use what's called the little expander here to look at that field. And you can see that if you choose to put into that location the actual details of the event, and this is something that applies whether it's to our existing event registration links or to these in the advanced segment. Either way works the same. You're able to put the full details of how to join your event, the URL and so forth. And what this will do is it will pass that into the landing page and into the add to calendar link so that it details it really nicely when people add it to their calendar. And so what we've done is so that you can see exactly how some of these different things will behave, you can actually, you'll be able to preview and see some of these things. Like for instance, if you want to preview the add to calendar link, when you click on this and you've got your event, this will actually show you what the link and what the user will see when they click add to calendar. It will launch it. Let me just make sure it's launching it. Well, this is what they will get presented. They will get presented with an event registration page with the details. So let me just make sure that the preview button that I wanted to click to actually get the idea. Okay, so here we go with what they will see. They will see the actual details of the event with a very nice streamlined ability to add to calendar in all the various types of calendars that are typically in common use out there. So this will take your event information, pass it through to a confirmation page, and provide them a nice add to calendar. So these buttons that we're talking about will be part of both your templates for confirming their registration, as well as you can set these buttons to be in your reminder email, so at any point people can make sure to add it to their calendar and get the full details. And of course, the beauty of this is that when they do actually go to add to the calendar, it will just pop up into a little window that can now be added into the calendar, like so. And it, as you can see, is passing in the full details of the event, the date, the time, the duration. It's also setting even the reminder time frame for it and so forth. So it's a very nice, more robust way to do the add to calendar that's now possible through the creation of those links. And what I've shown you here does apply now to both our standard event registration link as well as this more robust advanced registration. But again, here, the most important thing that we bring to the table is this ability to have a sequence of messaging so that you have improved the likelihood of people to show up to the event. Each one of these, if you want to actually see or change your template, when you go to the template setting, it shows you the current one that is in use. And if you need to change it, you can simply browse to a different one. So if you've made up a slightly different version of it and you want to alter what gets used for confirmations or reminders, you can do that at any point in time. So the beauty of this is that the managing of the event can be done whether it's part of creating a link or independent of it. That's why we highlight here that you can continually keep these events updated. If at a certain point an event is canceled, you can cancel it. That will stop the sequence from sending anything further. So there's a number of mechanisms to really stay on top of it, whether you're adding new events or updating existing events. And each event will be managed by pulling it up from the drop-down list. If you ever want to pull up past events or you want to clone something that was run in the past, when you click on the include past or canceled events, you'll get a list of things that include things that are past. Like here's something that was done back on 5/10. So I can pull that event up and I can now change this date. If the event is identical and all I want to do is reschedule it to a new date, I can change out the date and now make this an active new future event without having to go through and recreate all those pieces. So I can pull back prior events and in effect clone them to be made available as a new event without starting from scratch. You'll notice too that every event has the ability to be associated with a campaign. So your campaign list, whether you add a campaign name at this point or you have campaign names that you want to assign, you are able to make sure that everything tracks to the campaign as part of this process. Now we've also made it so that the landing page area well, first of all, you can change out the email that it sends from. So a certain campaign can use different email send froms. Doesn't always have to be the same, but if you typically do send from the same one, you set that as a default, and that will be what we show up automatically for you each time. Now, if you also want to, you will be asked when you first use the module to set the default, whoops, sorry. All right, that's true. We are only supposed to use email addresses in here. So it caught the fact that I had something not formed correctly. So we do want you to only use email addresses to properly enable the processing of the send from. Now, you also are going to be able to manage the default storage folder for all your templates. So once this is set, every time you create new templates, no matter where you save them, when you choose that template, we will put it into the default storage folder, and that is where it will get picked up by the listener when it processes, or by our sender, by the scheduling sender, to process the messages that have to go out. So we do require it to be a UNC location. You can at any point reset that location, and we've made it so that we'll take whatever drives you pick. So if you are using map drives, we convert it all for you. So in our case, we happen to use a nice short location, which is at a Y drive. You'll notice here it's making it into a UNC, and that is what now becomes the UNC location. So it's always set as UNC, but we take care of that for you as part of the process. So you could see that with the new mechanisms, the ability to assign an email alert to either dynamic or static recipients, all of that is still a continuation of what our event reg has always been about, but now with this whole sequencing capability, a very robust add to calendar capability, all of that to really give you a very comprehensive, what we think is a very comprehensive event reg process. Now, what I'm going to do is see if we have any questions while we're in this area, and just go ahead and respond to them if we do. So will the add to calendar function add to the Goldmine calendar? So when you are presented, that's a very good point. So Goldmine uses standard ICS files to add to calendar. So when you choose an add to calendar, if your default email or your default, calendar for your computer is Goldmine, I'm pretty sure that you can pick, and it would probably be the Outlook one, which does what's called a standard ICS file. You'll notice that when I do this, it's basically allowing me to open this ICS file. Now, you could change here and say open with Goldmine, for instance. I don't have Goldmine on this machine set as my default calendar. So you'd want to make sure Goldmine set as a default calendar. I believe you do that through your web browser, where you tell it what's the default calendar for this computer. That way, anytime you do click on links for scheduling things, it knows to use that calendar tool and load it. ICS is supported by Goldmine, so my answer is yes, I'm pretty sure that will work, but you will need to just test it. Really, if you're right now able to add to your calendar with any other things you get from other platforms when you sign up, one thing would be curious, we sent you a link to add to calendar, so I would say this would be where you'd be able to tell me whether or not you were able to add it to calendar, because you would have received this. You might not have known that you'd need to use that Outlook option, because it is just a standard ICS file that Outlook and many products use. The add to calendar here, you'll notice Google has its own way of processing things. So all these online, Office 365 has its own unique way of calendaring. Of course, it does incorporate Apple. So if you do have people who are signing up through, an iOS device, or if they're on Macs, it will add to the calendar correctly for that platform as well. So very nice, robust little add to calendar capability that's built into this mechanism. Let's see, any other questions about this? There is, when we deploy, or when this is deployed for you, you will be asked to reach out to support to actually activate one mechanism on your servers. So to enable this to work, we do need to set up SQL to do what's called, to do a DB mail, which allows SQL to process and send mail. We can set it up so that the account is just sending it through the same account you send all your other mailings through the smtp.com server. So when we set up that account, and by the way, any SMTP can be used in SQL to send mail, but we usually would set that up for you to be defaulting to the same way you send all mailings through Intellicus. And that does need to get set up when you deploy the module. And it will prompt you to tell you that. It's a very short 5-minute bit of support we provide to you to make sure it's correctly deployed in your environment, and then it's there and ongoing for you to use. So I'm not seeing any other questions on our module at this time. Again, there will be a full extensive video tutorial on using the module. So that is not out yet, but will be out very shortly. So it will just become part of our full library of video tutorials as well. So I'm going to move back. I'm just going to say I don't want to save anything I did here, and I'm going to move back to our main menu of Intelliclick. And next thing we're going to speak to, let me just pop back here, is the email merge code management that we talked about a moment ago, and the two different pieces of Intelliclick that really allow you to manage those codes, one from your recipient perspective, one from your own internal perspective. So let's first make sure everyone knows what I mean by an email merge code. Again, in case somebody's not familiar with it, Goldmine at every email has the ability to have various types of merge codes. And you can control these codes through a little pick list to get some good standardization on your users if they're going to manually add codes. The field does allow you to have multiple codes, but it has a limit. So that limit of that field is 20 characters. And since every code has to be separated by a comma, you really have a maximum of about 10 characters, or you could have up to 10 codes if you use single character codes, which is what we strongly recommend. So A through Z, 1 through 9 is a good way to set up your coding. And of course, in Goldmine, the syntax for defining what a code means is to have a double / and then what exactly those codes mean. If you have semicolons, it allows your user, when they're putting codes, to just keep going down and picking them, and it will automatically put in the commas between the codes as you apply the codes to that person. But these codes are specific to the person and to that email that you are applying this coding to, so that you can segment at that level. So one way is, as you're adding people into your database, you can manually, or users can just manually apply merge codes. So I really should have said there are 3 ways to manage merge codes. One is fully manual at the time of entry or modification to an email. So that is one. But another is to take advantage of the subscription management, which we have a quick little easy way for you to get to right here under the subscription management module button. Subscription management allows you to create mailing lists or lists, various types of lists. So depending on the email you're sending and your audience, you may want to offer different types of subscription options. In the example I have here, this is my default marketing options that I offer. But I could also have a list for when I send mail to technical people, where I offer a different type of list that they can sign up for. Now, these happen to be using multi-codes. And again, here I can pull up the list that's in Goldmine. If I want to make sure that I'm in sync with how we have things in Goldmine, I can make sure that I'm actually using the same pick lists within Goldmine. It doesn't mean that you can't create new coding for the purpose of this subscription. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the same codes that you have in Goldmine, but if you want consistency between what your users do and what you might be doing as the person executing campaigns, we recommend that it's a good idea to use the codes together in sync when you're doing that. Now, the nice thing about this is that you can then, of course, generate links for using that anywhere in your email. So, and you can also preview the form. So if I click to preview it, this will show me an example of exactly what will be shown or displayed to the actual recipient when they click to manage their subscription. As with all our landing pages, your logo gets passed in, so it is going to show up with a branded logo of yours. It passes in their name and email, It does give them the ability, if you have defined in the module the privacy URL that you have on your website. Once that's been set, if you have one, we will give them automatically the ability to click and view that privacy statement. So that way they know that when they're subscribing, they know what guidelines you use for protecting their privacy. And then they have one of two options. They can either actually say they want to select the options, and this is displaying exactly those options that you've set up in the module. So people can choose yes or no. If they ever come back, they can change them, and we will adjust those settings where we'll add or remove mail merge codes if they come back and reselect or change what they want to be subscribed to. We also, though, give them, and to help you stay in compliance with canned spam, we do give them the ability to do a one-click unsubscribe. So this is another option where they can be removed from all mailing lists right from this screen as well. That's no different than if they use that unsubscribe link in the footer that they get in all their emails. So it has the exact same behavior of a one-click removal from all mailings. When they do that, we will remove all the merge codes. So when that happens, we remove the merge codes from their email, because once they've unsubscribed, although by virtue of unsubscribing, they never get loaded. And so the merge codes really don't come into play, but so that your reporting on who's subscribed to different things is accurate, we do remove and blank out the merge codes so that they are no longer there to be reported to you as though these people are on a mailing list when they really aren't. So we do give you that nice little previewing capability, but at the end of the day, this create a link basically now creates a link that you can generate to the clipboard, and that can now be inserted in any email anywhere you want. So if you have a little button you put somewhere in your email, or you want a little link with a word that says, change your preferences or set your preferences here, any verbiage, whether it's a button or words, can now have this link applied to it, and that link will take them, pass them into your subscription page and allow them to make the appropriate changes. When that takes place, the information will flow back into Goldmine to the subscription tab. And let me just see if I can pull up somebody that has some subscription. Maybe, but here's an example of somebody with some subscriptions. So, and we do have a dashboard. I could have gone to the dashboard and found all the different people who have already done subscription. But as you can see, what we're doing here is we're tracking the date and time of when they either opt in or opt out. If at any point they've opted out, we will indicate it. And we're at the same time adjusting the merge codes. So let me just quickly go to, because I think we made some changes in our system. So let me go to the dashboard and show you where you see this, and we'll look at a few people that have done some subscriptions. So under subscription management, we have the various opt-in and opt-outs here. So here's an example where we have people that have opted in. These are various people that have opted out of different types of mailings, but I'm going to look at the opt-in under our educational mailings. I'm going to go over here to this person. And what we should have here is, the corresponding, let me just see here. Normally we would have the corresponding merge codes. I'm not sure if we did something to alter some of these merge codes, but as we add the merge codes here, the same merge codes will be added right into the merge code area here. I'm guessing that we did some alterations on something that may have changed things around a little bit. Let's see if everybody, we're gonna have to review these. So this looks like, this one is okay. So here's what would happen is it shows you the merge code that they opted into, and those NB codes are showing up also in the merge code of the email. If they opt out, then we know the codes that did not get used and they're not represented here. If at a point down the road they opt out and a code was there, it will get removed. So they can opt in or out from things at different times. We keep the merge codes adjusted according to preferences they are setting. So this is a way to let your audience tell you through the subscription management what they do or don't want to get mailings on, and that's managing the merge code field. So this is more the end user managing merge codes through the subscription module. Now, we also said, well, what about when you want to manage across your whole database, different types of merge codes you might want to use for your own purposes, your own targeting. So let's go ahead and we'll just come out of this area of the module, and that would all get handled. Let's go under here, and we're going to handle that through the email merge code management module. And some of you may have attended some past webinar that we talked about this module, but this is where we're allowing you to really have a peek at how your database currently is set with the various merge codes in play for the different values in your database. So you'll notice that when we first bring up the module, we're seeing primary contacts based on their titles and the merge codes, if any, that are in place. So we can see here that we have Chief Marketing Officer as a title, currently with 3 kinds of codes in there. Now, and by the way, at any time, if I want to see my merge code reference in Goldmine, what do our codes mean? I can just pop this little window up and at any time be able to see that list that we have. So if I need to understand what does a U mean, which in this case is upper management, an M is the marketing area, and an S is sales. These are the different codes that we might want to apply so that we can do a mailing to one or multiple types of people based on merge codes that we feel make sense. So rather than you having to worry about all the numerous types of titles in your database, you might say that anybody, for instance, that has marketing in their title, and this is where you could, for instance, use a wildcard and say that I want to append a merge code. Let's go ahead and say if it was marketing, and I might want to append a code. What you can now do is say for anybody amongst my primary contacts that has marketing in their title, I might want to append the letter, the merge code M. Okay, if this is a new code that's not currently in your list, you can go ahead now, give it a reference and add this into your list of merge codes to Goldmine. So we interactively will update Goldmine for you so that that merge code list that I was showing here just a moment ago, this list, is getting updated and being kept in sync with any new codes you might decide to start using. That way your individual users who might want to put in codes manually are using accurate codes that you're using on a global basis as well. So the merge code management area allows you to manage it at both primary or additional contacts and at the title or department level. Now, a lot of people say, so why did we limit it to only titles and departments? And that's because the only thing that's shared in common between primary and additional contacts in Goldmine is either the title field or the department, also known as reference field, if you're looking at additional contacts. So those are the only 2 that really you can accurately tie various types of codes based on people and what their role or department is within the company. Now, sometimes before you start assigning codes, you might want to manage the consistency of how your database holds all these different names. So we provide a data consistency area. And what this allows you to do is to take people, let's say you have certain titles that really all mean the same, but they're spelt slightly differently. I'm trying to see if we have some examples in here. Let's see. President, I mean, the examples we've cleaned up in the past where somebody might have had Pres, P-R-E-S versus President. They could have had, you know, CEO, Chief Executive Officer. You could have different things that all mean the same. But what we ultimately allow you to do is anything that does mean the same, that you'd rather have one single code, you're able to check off the ones that you want to combine, and then you can decide, so I'm going to take anybody that's sales director, sales manager, and just use one value for both and have it replaced. So maybe I don't want to use either of those. I could use another name, director of sales, could be what we might want to use, or something else. Then you can have us immediately clean up the data in your Goldmine system and assign those codes or those names, so that when you do start to set coding, you don't have a long list of things that are really all the same thing said many different ways. So depending on how good or bad, I mean, here's an example where, okay, this would make sense. Sales rep and sales representative, same thing, but now I have to handle two different scenarios if I'm trying to assign codes, whereas it would be easier to just have them all called either sales rep or sales representative. So whatever I would fill in here and then apply will immediately mesh and combine it into one single value for my primary contacts. I can do exactly the same thing for my additional contacts. So here are the different types of titles in my database currently for additionals. And very similarly, I can do the same on departments, where I can say if there are certain departments that really mean the same thing, let's clean it up. So we're trying to help you manage the integrity of how your merge codes can be managed on a global basis. And the importance there is that Goldmine has no way to globally update primary and additional contact merge codes. So this mechanism kind of fills that little gap in making sure that if you're using primary and additionals, you can fully manage them and code them to have meaningful email marketing down the road with really tight segmentation. So that kind of speaks to the whole email merge code side from both the end user receiving your mailings or from an internal global perspective. And then the final area, but before I do that, I want to make sure we have no questions on that. So let's see if anybody has any questions or clarification. Do feel, by the way, to post into the chat if you do have questions as we're going along here, anything that you want to be sure we cover. I am going to still leave it open for questions on this and other topics at the end, but if you have any as we go along, I'm happy to answer them if you like. So finally, we were just going to talk a little bit about quick survey and, how can we go out and quickly reach out and find out and get a finger on the pulse of what's going on with different people we're dealing with. Those responses are going to show up in the survey tab. I actually did a quick survey just this morning on this record, and the question, rate how satisfied you were. So that email that, let's just see here if it's still in the outbox. Here was the email that was generated through the quick survey tool. Of course, it is just an email that's fully editable in Goldmine. So it generates code that you can then create a template. That template, for instance, is right here. And so the end result was that I was able to create a template. Of course, I can go in and alter the verbiage of that template to say whatever I want it to be. And of course, we gave it the various rankings that they could then click and immediately give you a score. It also allowed them to provide any additional comment if there was any, and then it would provide a second entry for the comments. And oh, somebody had, there was a question on our last, sorry, I see somebody just asked a question about how did you get the merge code utility you went through? Oh, okay. Well, let me just, again, go back to the wizard and let's just show you. There's really two ways to get to the merge code management. Let me just bring that up. So in the IntelliSend area, we do provide, by the way, access to the merge code reference here. So when you're going to do a send and you want to use your merge codes, you can have a quick reference to them right here as well. But the merge code management is under other options, email merge code management. That will only be visible to you if you're either on our Plus or Premium versions. You should have it under other options available to you here. We also, no, we only have it under that one area, under the other options, email merge code management. And we have it as a little shortcut right here. So if you click on merge code management, that little yield sign, that gets you to the same spot. We do try to always give you a visual and a drop-down menu as two different ways to get to our various advanced modules. So hopefully that answers the question. Again, the two areas were either right on the front screen in the bottom right here, merge code management, or other options, merge code management. Both get you to the same spot. Now, I was just talking a little bit about the quick, the ability to do a survey. And so under the Smart Survey area, we are able to create what's called a quick response survey. So the quick response survey will allow you to quickly set up various kinds of surveys. It saves your information if you want to go back and adjust a survey with the kind of wording you want to use, what kind of rating you want to set for it. All that is handled in the Intellicus Quick Survey area. So you can have a variety of types of surveys that you can use at any time, or you can create brand new ones. And then as you are looking at the various surveys, it shows whether you've set it up as a numerical survey or a text. You can quickly preview your survey to see what it's going to look like to the person you're sending to, so you can get a little advanced look to see if you're happy with that. Remember that it's always editable after the fact, because when I generate the HTML, this is now on my clipboard ready to be pasted into the template area for surveying. So if I go now to create a brand new template for this new survey, and let me just go ahead and we can say this is our sample training survey, and I'm going to replace the HTML with the one that's created on the clipboard, and there is the initial survey ready for me to use with a Goldmine merge code already in play and the verbiage. But this is alterable. You can add more or less text here. So you could still modify this. The thing you don't want to go necessarily change are the actual links here, which are going to pass the appropriate coding that will then get tracked by our tracking server and finally pass back into Goldmine the result of the survey. Survey results, once they do come back, are available to you in a couple of different ways. You can look at them through the dashboard. Let me just see if I can pop over here to the dashboard. There we go. So we do have our survey dashboard that does allow you to look at the various surveys you have underway, and you can then actually go to the specific survey that you want to look at and see what kind of response you're getting. I like to get these to look a little bit nicer, so I'll usually go in and give this a more three-dimensional look. Let's see here if we can, in the properties, I usually try and set these to be three-dimensional. Where's our 3D? I think it's under here. There we go, 3D. Just gives it a little bit more interesting visual appeal here. But this is a way to quickly look at and drill down and see what results you've had. You can do it question by question or see all questions and any comments. So that here's somebody who gave you a score of a 2 on the question and also provided some comments, and that information is all viewable right here. So the Mike gave you a 4 on that response, and the comment was like the tech, found them very knowledgeable. And this is a way to get some very quick measurements and then review them through dashboards and reporting. I did want to also make sure that there is a brand new report if you're using our new advanced event management called the Upcoming Event Management Report. This one is giving you a nice overview by event of a few different things. So the report is giving you both the details surrounding the event, what you have set up in terms of your templates and the timing those will go out. And it will also summarize event by event who are your participants for that event. So I can see here the summary of the event with its date and time, any messaging that is going to go out with the subject line and the location of the template, what's the lead time that that message is going to go out a day before, 60 minutes before, and then these are so far the people who've signed up for the event. So this report can be run at any time to get a quick snapshot of who's attending any of your events that have been scheduled through the advanced scheduling of your that module, our advanced event management module. So to respect your time, I'm going to still leave this now open if there are any other questions related to anything I did today. We are going to repeat many of these sessions and do more of them on other facets of Intelliclick. Of course, we record these and we'll be making sure that these are all part of our recording library, but we'll send out a link to all of you who've attended today to make sure you can go back and watch any of the pieces that you would like. So I'm just leaving it open for any other possible questions on this or other things you need to know. Hopefully you'll have a chance to download and apply the latest version of Intelliclick so that you can get the full benefit of some of these, especially those of you that are on a plus and premium version of the product. So I'm not seeing any other questions at this time, but thank you all today. I hope you're all keeping well and safe and managing through all these interesting times, and we'll be in touch very soon. Thanks again.